Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday. It's 11 o'clock-ish, and that means it's time for Elevenses with the reps at Diesel. Very excited because, well, I'm not excited that this is our last Elevenses before the holidays, DAZE. And we are, I think, 3 weeks. We won't see you for 3 weeks. We'll be back on January 8th. But because it's our last Elevenses before, we've got a bunch of like super exciting, great gift books for you. I can't. I'm shocked that it's already December 11th. It really feels like it. I was just saying that October is the new December, and now we're here already. It feels like the blink of an eye. It's been a great holiday season, very busy, very lots of fantastic books that have been coming out over the last couple of months. Even some late releases in December, which normally publishers sort of back off around this time. But lots of great books, and we have three wonderful reps and a fantastic bookseller to discuss them all with you today. And as you know, I think most of you have joined us before, but if you're joining us for the first time, every Wednesday we're get together here in our virtual crowdcast space for Diesel, and we talk with our publishers representatives and our booksellers about what's new, what's forthcoming, what is recently released that we love, and sometimes old favorites as well. We post all of the links to the books we talk about today in the chat bar over there, so you can click on them later and order them or pre-order them, as the case may be, at your leisure. Of course, we welcome comments and chat over there as well, so feel free to just join in over there in the chat. Okay, so having said all of that, let me introduce everybody who's joining us today, and we'll get rolling. So we've got with us Amy Comito from Penguin. Good to see you, Amy. Gary Hart from University of Chicago Press. I always just want to call it Chicago, but I'm going to be specific here. And back after a long absence from Elevenses, we have Wade Lucas from Random House. So welcome back, Wade. Great to see you. And then we've got Henry joining us on the bookseller side. Thank you, Henry, for joining us as well. And behind the scenes, we've got Joey with all of the links and gossip and all of the rest of it. All righty. Well, I know everyone's got a lot to talk about, so why don't we just, Gary, why don't you lead us off this morning?
Okay, thank you. So my first book is Lunar, A History of the Moon in Myths, Maps, and Matter. It's by Matthew Schindel. And as you can see, it's a mighty, oversized beauty, full of colored illustrations showing how, oh yeah, that looks great, showing how man from the ancients to contemporary scientists has studied, speculated about, mythologized, astrologized, made art about, made movies about the moon. And it's interested in the full spectrum of how the moon has kind of participated in our history, how it's shaped ideas about our place in the cosmos, how those ideas have shifted as our ideas about our place in the cosmos have shifted. There's a foreword by Davis Sobel, popular science writer, probably a lot of you have read, and it's really gorgeous. And I'll show you some of my favorites here. I'll start with the in papers, which I think are just really spectacular. And then I'll show you some of the illustrated cultural history that's here, beginning with the ancient Egyptians and how they represented the moon. Here's ancient Romans. This is a mid-19th century Lakota representation of the cycles of the moon, coupled with a contemporary Lakota artist's take on the same thing. Um, Here is the female cycle in the moon, uh, Mayan lunar astrology, symbolism of the moon in astrology generally, uh, the moon in silent cinema. And I picked this one especially because I love this Shirley Malay image. Probably you've all seen of the rocket hitting the man in the moon in the eye. Um, and here's the surrealist artists and the moon. And then interspersed through the whole book are how science has studied the moon and mapped the moon specifically. And most of the images of the maps come from the U.S. Geological Survey's 11-year effort in the 60s and 70s to map completely the near side of the moon. And they're just gorgeous. They're, I think, works of art unto themselves. That, of course, is stems from President Kennedy's pledge to put a man on the moon by the end of this decade, as he said in 1961. So there's interesting stuff on the Apollo program, on Cold War politics in the moon. I think as a gift book, it really scratches kind of a few itches for space aficionados, for science buffs, for history buffs, for map geeks, and it is $65.
Well, I don't know about everyone else, but I personally cannot get enough moon books. I mean, I'm kind of, I'm kind of like obsessed with the moon in books. Like, I don't know why. I guess the moon is just fascinating. We love the moon, Joey says. I know.
You're of a piece
Um,
with everybody through history,
I,
yeah.
I haven't seen this book yet. I'm super excited about it. It's
Take a look.
absolutely gorgeous. What a beautiful book. And an absolutely excellent gift. Perfect. And if you, I want to mention to you, Gary, and everybody else, this book also is a nice compliment. Our Moon, by Rebecca Boyle. This is a Random House book. I don't know if it's yours, Wade. But if you could post a link to that also, just a little plug for that one, because that's a fantastic book as well, which covers a lot of the same ground as Lunar, but I think goes probably much more into depth about certain things. And it's certainly not as visual as that one, but another great moon book. But this is absolutely stunning and would make a great gift for me or any other moon lover on your list. Thanks, Joey. There's the link for that one too. Thank you, Gary. Great start.
Welcome.
Um, Wade, why don't you go next?
Sure, and I apologize. Like everybody right now, I have that lingering cough, so I'm trying not to cough
No,
on camera.
people in
Oh,
my house have had that thing. Definitely.
so Joey, you got my cue?
Okay, we're good to go, Wade.
Oh, I thought he was gonna pop up the.
He will.
Okay, well, let me see what I had first then. Joey, is it Ina Garten?
There we go.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, we just got off a conference call, so I don't have my other collection open. So Ina Garten, her memoir, fantastic sales so far, and something I want to just reiterate to people: she really did write this herself, and the voice comes through. This is Ina, and amazing gift for anyone who's a fan. They are legion, and something really cool too. And you can buy audiobooks through dieselbookstore.com using Libro FM. The audiobook is read by her, which makes it extra special. um, and I've been telling people, some people still listen. I mean, maybe I'm old fashioned, but I do still have a CD player in my house and in my car. So I think the little audiobook is a fantastic little stocking stuffer hostess gift. And there's such interesting things in here. There's a lot about Jeffrey. Everybody loves to know about Jeffrey. I've worked many Ina Garten events, signings, and that sort of thing. The number one question customers always have is, how is Jeffrey? So you're going to scratch that itch and more. Fantastic story, inspiring. Highly recommend it. And especially that audiobook, I'm telling you.
I actually just was talking to somebody. Somebody was in the shop the other day talking about the audiobook and how she was and how she read it and how entertaining that was actually. So I have firsthand confirmation of that. And but just to reiterate, this is her memoir, not it's not a cookbook.
No,
It's
no, yeah.
yeah,
I thought
yeah.
I said that in the beginning. Yeah.
No, you did. I'm just underlining it because I
Oh,
think
okay.
sometimes there's a little bit of confusion when people see the book and they think it's another cookbook, but it's not.
Gotcha.
It's her memoir, yeah, and
Yeah.
very much written by her, and yeah, and it's been great, and people are very excited about it.
Childhood,
Um,
not as easy as one would imagine. So, as is the case a lot of the time.
right, exactly. So, pick great stock of that one. That's another great one to pick up for the foodie in your life. Thank you, Wade. Great
Thank you.
start. Amy, let's go over to you.
So I went sort of back in time. I'm doing Berry Pickers, which is
Yeah.
now, yeah. So this came out last year, and I love this book. And now it's in paperback, so it's perfect for book groups now. So it's the story of, so I didn't know in Maine, the indigenous Mi'kmaq tribe, um, they're indigenous people who come down and pick the blueberries in Maine. And, I wasn't even aware that this happened. But so this story revolves around this large Mi'kmaq family from Nova Scotia that comes down to pick the fields. And it's a big family. And the little 4-year-old is sitting on a rock one day and she disappears, which is just gut wrenching for the whole family. And so this is the story of what happened. I'm not going to spoil it. It has a nice little mystery element, but it's a debut book from a debut author and just a fantastic book group because there's a lot to talk about and just really well written. So that's what I'm like. This was one of my favorite books from last year. Now it's in paperback. So I'm bringing it to everybody. And it's a beautiful package. I mean, you put a bow on that, you don't even need to wrap it, right? So,
Right. I want to say, wasn't this cover picked as one of the best covers of the year? It
yeah.
did make the list, right? I thought I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is such a good looking book, and it has really had legs, as they say,
Mm-hmm.
meaning it just keeps going, and people are rediscovering it. And I find a lot of people looking for book club ideas. And in fact, we just did a whole display down in Delmar of uh, possible book club picks going forward. And this was on there. So
Oh, great.
lots of great ideas for discussion and available in paperback as well. And look how, yes, exactly. Look how beautiful it is.
Yeah, but it's not like anything I'd ever read. So I also, I've been reading for so long that it's hard to find an original book, especially fiction. So, this one I did not figure out the mystery till the end. So
I
that's what I,
always respect a book that can do that for,
yeah, exactly.
for me, definitely. Or a twist that's genuinely twisty. So,
Right.
excellent pick. Thanks, Amy. All right, Henry, what's your first book today?
I am also doing a blast of the past because I'm doing a reread of a fantasy series I really like because their new book came out. So I'm doing The Way of Kings for my first book. It's
Great.
been out for quite a long time, The Way of Kings. It's a really great fantasy series for anyone who's looking to get their teeth into a giant, super, super long fantasy series. It's really great. I think potentially Joey sold this to me when I was like 15 to get and I've been reading it ever since. I love this series. I love all of his books. Brandon Sanderson is a great author. For people who don't know who he is, he's the guy who finished The Wheel of Time after Robert Jordan passed away, and now he has like 35 books under his belt. His author bio page is just so many books. He writes so fast. And yeah, the new one that just came out is Wind and Truth, which is the book 5 of the series.
Henry, I
I'm
have a book sitting on my coffee table. I've been meaning to start that series for years. I just don't have the time to commit, but
I
maybe
highly
it'll.
recommend it. It's an incredibly large time investment, but it's really, really
Yeah.
great.
I'm
He's
glad you actually are talking about this one, Henry, and I'm going to ask you a question now because there are people out there who don't know anything about Brandon Sanderson, believe it or not, or this series. So can you give me and us just like a real basic overview of, you know, the idea behind the
Yeah,
behind
totally. So it
saga?
takes place in a fantasy, obviously a fantasy setting where they have a long history of the world ending over and over again. They call them the desolations, the end of the world, and there hasn't been one for a very long time, so everyone kind of moved on from it. And there starts to be rumbles of one happening again, this kind of coming of the end of the world. And no one really believes it's coming except for a handful of people that have started to have kind of strange experiences. There's a general at the head of one of the larger kingdoms in the world who starts to have visions of God that no one believes. There is a slave who starts to have magical powers, again, that no one believes. And there is a young woman from a very poor noble family that starts to see shapes moving in the windows behind her and doesn't really know what it means. And they all kind of slowly draw together to understand what's happening to them and what's happening to the world they live in. It's really great fantasy.
Excellent.
And yeah, Joey wrote a really great
Yeah.
Wired article. Oh yeah, and everyone a lot of people start saying weird end of the world prophecies as they die around the world, which kind of starts leading into the end of the world as well.
So basically yesterday.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Just so we're clear. And the new one did just come out, but and you should snap that up if you're waiting for it. If you haven't, I mean, really, I think we sold out of all of ours on the day it went on sale. And all of ours is like, it was a stack like this, but that was only 3 books.
Yeah,
Anyway,
not.
it's a giant book.
I believe the new one is 1,400 pages.
It's huge. It's ginormo,
They're very
which
large.
is great. I can't think of anything better to do, and I haven't done it for several years because I've just been so busy with things. But one of the nicest parts of the holiday, if you have one, is to be able to take like a weekend and just hang out, be lazy, and just read as much as you want to. That's a real book geek dream right there. So this is perfect for that if fantasy is your thing.
But
Thanks,
Henry,
Henry.
is it like fantasy Pringles where if you pop you can't stop? Am I
Yes,
going to
I have
be stuck reading
I've
all of
started
them
a
in a row?
reread of the whole series. I'm 3
Ah,
weeks
Any book
into it.
in a week?
I have done nothing else outside of work. I get off of work and I read this book. I'm 2,500 pages in, I think, of the first 3 books.
that's why we love it. Thanks for talking about this one, Henry.
Of course. And like Fantasy Pringles, it'll never run out because he's probably the only author that can write faster than we can read. I think in the last 2 years, he put out 9 books.
All right.
He's fast.
All right. He's other, capital O. All right. Back to you, Gary.
Okay, so my first book was on mapping the moon. My second book is a book on railroad maps. And, I was thinking the Venn diagram for the readers of both of these books, the, 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 the bubble in the middle is probably a big, giant, fat one. And I'm definitely in there. The book is the History of the Railroad in 100 Maps by Jeremy Black. It follows a couple of books that we've done that are kind of in an unofficial series, a history of World War II in 100 Maps and a history of America in 100 Maps. Both of those have done really well. They're still in print, still available. This gives us lots and lots, actually well more than 100 very cool, often really beautiful railroad maps from all over the globe. There's also lots of really cool ephemera. like brochures and train schedules and ads for railroads. There's some of the politics of the history of railroads, Manifest Destiny here in the United States, China's current efforts of trying to put railroads all the way across Asia, Europe, and Africa. But really, first and foremost, are the maps themselves. And again, I picked out some of my favorites here. This is a map of the United States and possible preliminary transcontinental routes circa 1855, so a decade before a transcontinental route was actually completed. This is a map that's interesting. This is Washington, D.C. here, and the maps in the D.C. area circa the 1860s. And interestingly, where the perspective is from north to south rather than what we usually see from south to north. It was created by the Union Army during the Civil War. Here is a map of railroads in the Ottoman Empire, circa 1914. This is India, Burma, and Ceylon, circa 1909. This is the L in Chicago, 1897. New York City and environs, 1918. And at that point, Grand Central Station and Penn Station were pretty newly constructed. And of course, they were competing railroads at the time. This is the Barcelona metropolitan area, circa 1891. Here's the Orient Express in 1930. And then jumping way ahead, this is the new Silk Road. This is some of these have been built and others are proposals. China's attempt to build railroads essentially across the entire Eastern Hemisphere, really. So that's it, and it's $40.
What a great value for $40. That's a fantastic. Yeah, that I was expecting you to quote a much higher price. That's a great price for that book. It's a lot of bang for the buck there. I know at least 3 people who would love to have this book as a gift. I mean, I think you're right about the Venn diagram and the this is the kind of book that you can just get lost in it. The information and the great illustrations. I think it's fascinating. It's just the kind of thing you can stand there and just look at all day. So a really great book and a really great price. So that one's on your list for sure. Thanks, Gary. All right, Wade, back to you.
I'm prepared. Okay, so my next is the Playbill Broadway Trivia Game, which is this very cool little box. It looks like the very famous Playbill. There you go. Looks like the very famous Playbill programs they have on Broadway. I'm sure many of you have seen. The fun thing about this, it just came out. Likely, if you're buying gifts, nobody has this yet. And it's a fun game. I know I presented this the other day, and our friend Tom Benton, who works for the Penguin side of PRH, said he played it. He wouldn't tell me if he won or not, but
Tom,
anyway,
being very sketchy.
and I think especially if you have people who are obsessed with Wicked, I mean, this is the perfect stocking stuffer or just a handy under $20 gift that you can get for someone. Easy to wrap, and I just think it's awesome. The design is great, and it is fun trivia. And yes, there is a Wicked question or 2 in there, so those people will be happy. Anyway,
I love this kind of thing. As Joey mentioned, we don't have a link there because for some reason it's very hard to link non-books.
okay.
Yeah, but that's okay. We have it. We do have it. It's in stock, and there it is right there. And we've got the title. But super fun. We've often in the store when we have these games, and not that we have that much time on our hands, but ask each other trivia questions. and see how we do. This is a lot of fun. I think a great holiday game, a nice stocking stuffer, really fun for anybody. We all know people who love
Are
Broadway
you
trivia.
are you gonna
I'm not
sing for
one
us?
of them, but my sister is, so she would definitely
Right.
win this game. So it wouldn't be a fair fight. But we could alternate with that with the book trivia game, and then which I would win. So it's all good.
Hi, Maya.
Anyway, great stocking stuffer. Thank you, Wade. Another great gift idea. All right, back to you, Amy.
So I wouldn't be Christmas or the holidays without talking about some food books. So
Yay!
I'm bringing back the food gifts book from America's Test Kitchen because I love these America Test Kitchen cookbooks. They're just so beautiful. They have so many beautiful illustrations. It's high format. And then, you know what? I love these illustrations because you know what it's supposed to look like. And I always need a little help in that department. So, but it's got everything from like if you're taking, you want to make a casserole for a family that needs a little help to everything that like cookies that you want to mail that mail well. It's just got so many beautiful recipes and ideas. So that's my first. I'm doing two. And then I have a little cookbook for the novice called You Gotta Eat. So this is what I give to all my young nieces and nephews who are just moving out on their own because it talks about like, what is a cheese board? How do you make a cheese board? Or if you can only afford ramen, how do you make that ramen delicious? And the price is right. It's only $20, but there's such sweet little recipes like how do you roast vegetables? How do you make super nachos? Like really easy cooking recipes for the new cook. And just a cute little gift package, and the price is right. So those are my two cookbook picks for the season.
Okay, so I don't know if y'all are going to be able to see this. Can you see that?
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, so that's a trio of liqueurs that I made from that food gifts. Well, not the ginger one, but there's a red berry liqueur there, a coffee liqueur, and then a ginger liqueur on the end, which will pretty much cure anything that's wrong with you. And that comes from that food gifts book, which is absolutely one of my favorite. It's one of you always pick like I love the America's Test Kitchen are great. It's like it might as well be do stuff for dummies kind of a thing because it really is. It's so easy to follow, but they're sophisticated, a lot of them. That food gifts book is an amazing book. It's really clever. Everyone's getting homemade gifts for me this year, and I'm leaning heavily on that book. Lots of great ideas, and you can actually sort of extrapolate out from some of the ideas that they have there and come up with your own ideas. And she also tells you how to make your own gift bags and, to put it in. Anyway, great books, both of them. Thanks, Amy.
Sure.
All right, Henry.
Hello. I'm continuing my trend of going back to the beginning of series for this one with more books that you can kind of cozy up and read heavy fantasy by the fire. My second one's called The Tainted Cup, which
Oh yeah,
Joey
this is another Joey
one
favorite.
day
I'm getting
emailed
a
me.
sense that these are actually Joey's picks, and he's
Yeah, all of my reading tastes are just Joey's. I don't know if anyone's picked up on this yet.
Yeah, getting that sense.
Kelsey and I came into work one day, and Joey was like, "Hey, I have sent you a book in your email that you have to read. You cannot keep whatever you're reading. You have to put down and read this." And he was right. It was very, very good. We both read it by like the end of the week, and then we were all just kind of waiting for the second one to come out. And yeah, Joey, it just came out in paperback. And yes, Joey is my handler. Joey is my book handler. Thank you, Andrea.
LOL, Andrea. That's fine.
The Tainted Cup is a kind of Sherlock Holmes and Watson style mystery set in a fantasy Southeast Asia, where a young man has been recruited as the assistant investigator to this very strange, very bizarre investigator for the empire that they are a part of. And they are investigating a string of murders where trees are growing out of people. So very normal stuff. It's really well written. There's really great world building. I love all the characters, and it's a very living, breathing world that they have put together. And Robert Jackson Bennett is a really great fantasy author. He has another series that I think I've talked about on here before as well called Foundry Side. That's really great. It's just a really great mystery to read on the plane, read on vacation, read while you're hiding from your family during the holidays. All of the above.
And as Joey mentions over here, it just came out in paperback. Look at that amazing cover. A great recommend for anybody, if not the kind of thing that you personally would read. You absolutely have somebody who will and who does, and so it's a great gift for them. And you can, be very clever and be giving them very sophisticated fantasy type book. That they'll appreciate. But I remember Joey talking about this when it came out in hardcover, actually. And I have big respect for any author who is so good at world building, because if you think about world building, I mean, that's literally what it is. You have to think about creating a whole universe world with its own set of rules and customs and all of that. If you can pull it off, it's great. And so, and this
does get pretty nitty gritty on,
yeah. I mean,
random
really
throwaway details that you don't really think
all.
about in a world. It makes it feel very, very lived in and very alive.
Right. Excellent. And Joey adds here that the second comes out in April and that he is also an Edgar Award winner. And I'm sorry, Wade, I interrupted you.
I'm the one who got the infection going with this book. It's one of mine.
All right.
It's your fault.
It's one of Wade's, so awesome.
I can't stop thinking about it.
And
Great.
yes, the next book is early next year, and then we can't say too much more other than that. But fantastic author, fantastic series.
You can't do that to me.
That's it. All right. Well, Henry's just going to be stewing for the rest of the time. As we head into our last round, Gary.
Yeah, my last book is Seeing Baya, Portrait of an Algerian Artist in Paris by Alice Kaplan. Yeah, there it is. And some of you may recognize Alice Kaplan's name. She's a former winner of the LA Times Book Prize for nonfiction. She's been a finalist for the National Book Award. She writes mostly on the French language and French culture. And here she's telling the story of Baya Mahadine, who's a very young Algerian artist who, for a few years in the late 1940s in Paris, was kind of a sensation of the Paris art world. And when I say very young, she was like 15, 16 years old. And the reason we care all these decades later is because her art was really good, really interesting, really beautiful. There's added complexity to her story because she was Algerian, and as much as she was celebrated as an artist for a time, there's really no way to extract France's kind of ugly colonial history in Algeria from her own story. She was orphaned as a little girl, came to live with a French woman who was living in Algeria. This French woman had kind of artistic aspirations of her own, unfulfilled mostly. But this woman did recognize artistic talent in Baya, encouraged that talent, even while she was using her as a maid and kind of domestic help. But still, she did encourage her talent. She eventually got Baya into an art show in Paris in 1947, and she became the sensation. She was in Vogue magazine. She was on French radio at the time. She was in newsreels. Her work was hailed by Matisse, Camus. Picasso said that Baya influenced his work at the time. Andre Breton included her in the fold of the Surrealists. She really was a star for a period there. but she was also used as propaganda. The French could say, look, it's not so bad for the Algerians. They're being celebrated as artists. So there's so many levels here to her story. And one of Alice Kaplan's strengths always is her ability to tell a good story. And in fact, this was just named one of Hyperallergic's 30 best art books of 2024, just a couple of years ago. So, and I'll show you a bit of it. Like I said, the reason we care about her now is because of the artwork itself.
These are just beautiful, Gary.
Yeah, it's
Gorgeous.
really beautiful. It's interesting. Yeah. It's accessible.
Yeah.
There's one. She worked as a sculptor and ceramicist. There's a full page. So I'm just really kind of giving you an introduction. She was back in Algeria by the early 50s. Very soon after that, the French-Algerian War broke out. Baya was very much involved in that. There eventually was a postage stamp of Baya in Algeria. So she was important to the Algerians, to the Algerian cause, but has been completely forgotten by art history, like so many women have. So Alice Kaplan is kind of helping to rectify that while telling a really, really interesting life story too. So it's $26.
Can't afford not to buy this book. To get two. Fascinating. I didn't know anything about her. Thank you so much for for talking about this book, because absolutely fascinating artist, fascinating story, and just gorgeous art. It's so nice to be introduced to art that you didn't know about, and that is getting more attention, and is particularly women artists, definitely.
Exactly. I mean, it's nice that there is this kind of ongoing correction to the art history as we've understood it for so long.
Yeah, we're just got to keep that going, right, Gary?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much. Wade, what is your last book of the day?
So, The Bean Book.
The Bean Book.
I'm trying to do magic. Joey, help me.
There it is. Wow, great cover.
This is my favorite cookbook of the entire year. And a few special things. So last time I checked, Diesel still had a copy. We're out, and we're probably not going to get it back in until after Christmas. After the holiday week anyway. If you want to try to get it, call the store now. Just go ahead, leave the presentation, try to get that last copy.
There's the link.
Everybody wants this book. It's so different. It's fresh. If you have any foodie friends, they are not going to have this book. And there aren't a lot of bean books out there. In fact, this is the first one I've seen that's in this gorgeous package and just focused on the beans, on the history. So Rancho Gordo beans is a very famous heirloom. Yes, it's not just tomatoes, people. Heirloom bean company in Northern California. I believe they're around Napa. And so part of the mission of their company is to preserve these strains of heirloom beans, like indigenous strains and Latin American strains. And you can find them a little expensive, but they're worth it at a Whole Foods or a Sprouts. And this book is so awesome because it shows you not only these great recipes and how to prepare beans, how to use them, but it gives you so many uses for them that I'd never even thought of. And this book just started blowing out of my accounts, and like I said, we're out of it for the moment. We're rushing a reprint. But if you're trying to get a gift for a foodie, call the store now and get that last copy. And it's gorgeous. It's 10 Speed Publishing, which is actually located in Northern California as well. So that's where we get a lot of our California-centric cookbooks and things like this, where the headquarters of Rancho Gordo is close to the publisher. Anyway, it's
I
phenomenal.
almost put that up on the wall. That is such a great, that is, it's like like abstract art almost. That cover is beautiful. I've never really been historically in my life a bean fan. Haven't been. But I am married to somebody who is, and so I have really come around to uh, uh, becoming more familiar and enjoying cooking with beans and finding new recipes and experimenting. Beans are, they're like a superfood.
Well, in
And
Rancho Gordo, the strains are so preserved. I tell people it's kind of like when you go to a farmer's market and you buy strawberries or something. You get home and you're like, oh, this is what a strawberry
a
tastes
strawberry
like.
tastes like,
You
right,
know?
exactly.
And these
Yeah.
beans, I mean, the creaminess, I mean, it's incredible. It's inspiring. And you're going to find a lot of new, exciting things to do in your kitchen with
Well,
this.
I'm excited, except I don't have this book, and now I'm not going to be able to get it at the store because we're going to be out of it after Elevenses.
Well,
But
I
I'm
know
gonna,
someone probably just called the store, got it. I'm sorry.
yeah. But I'm gonna put it on my list, and maybe someone who I cook for will get it for me. So thank you, Wade. Great book.
Thank you.
Well, Amy, you are going to go last and wrap it up for the day.
Okay, I'm going to do 3 Fast and Furious.
Yes.
So, because we're not going to talk a lot, but the Eros tour just ended, so all
Right.
those Swifties are very depressed, and so we have 2 little Taylor Swift books. One that's very pictorial. This is a little one from Hearst Home. So that's a beautiful little just coffee table book. Swifties can take it with them and remember their concert. The other one, took us by surprise. I thought it was a very cool book from the beginning. It's called Taylor Swift by the Book. And it's an English professor and a musical theater person actually analyzing all the Taylor Swift lyrics and pulling out all the literary references and telling the Swifties what they're from. So it's like a Swiftie reading list. And she has so many references to Great Gatsby and everything like that. So now I'm like, okay, maybe Taylor Swift is cool because her music is good, but she's using literary references. So this is a great book. And then my very last book is just another gift book called it's a tiny book, Tiny Pep Talks. And again, it's just the perfect gift that you could give anyone like 30 and under. I'm just going to read a couple of the table of contents. They're just hilarious. But they're basically like, everybody needs a cheerleader. So this is like a tiny little book of cheerleading messages. Like for when you're about to sing karaoke, you read this. When you're having trouble parallel parking, when you're overdressed, when you're underdressed, when you come to the party too early, when you have to go to the party alone. And so it's 2 comedians actually writing, and they're like 2 pages that you read, and you could leave it just on your coffee table. But like I said, like this is what I'm giving some of my nieces and nephews with a little gift card inside, because I'm not always there to answer their call when they're having the panic attack about like, I can't get my meal card at the campus office or whatever. This is the book that substitutes for all those aunties and uncles who can't pick up the phone 24/7. So
do you get calls like that they can't? That's very sweet.
Well, the thing is, I find that they don't want to call their parents, so they call their
right.
They don't want to call their parents crying, saying, I failed the parking test or the driver's test because I hit a pedestrian. They don't want to tell their parents. They tell their auntie. And the auntie says, look, you take the test again. But
right.
It's like, when I'm not around, this book will always be with them. So it's a great little
I love this little book. It's really, these are the kinds of things that are really kind of flying off the counter,
It's in a stocking too.
Yeah, Fits in a Stocking. It's a great book. And I love having these books at the counter in the shop. That one, the Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning has been very popular the last couple of weeks as well. It fits right in. There's everything. The dinosaur therapy. That's another great one that's on the counter. I'm just gonna name a whole bunch, Joey. See if you can find all links, but. Or I could just say, come to the counter, or when you come to the cash wrap with your bigger purchases. These are fantastic stocking stuffers. And that Taylor Swift by the book, when it came in, I was like, what is this now? And I started looking through it, and it is really a great little book, actually. It's really fun. Yeah.
I know. And we're having so many stock issues. So if anybody can find it, you can order it. But like Wade said, like it went like hotcakes the first week.
Right. We got a bunch of them in ours. That Joey can tell me what's happening in Brentwood, but yeah, all three really great picks on that, and I think the two Taylor Swift and the Tiny Pep Talks, somehow they go together. I don't know how. But...
you can buy all three, and wrap them up. I do like bundling. I like Wade's idea of bundling the audio with the Ina. When you're going to sleep at night, have Ina put you to sleep.
Right.
And then you have to reread the chapter that you fell asleep to in the book. So
but meanwhile Henry's picks, people are like have gone into a cave and are just not going to come out until New Year. With the Sanderson. Altogether fantastic, really great picks. For every one of these is a great gift, or a great gift for yourself. I'm just going to give an extra plug for that food gifts one, Amy, because if you're at all, even vaguely crafty and you make anything, that book is a really, really, really great and easy way to make some fantastic gifts that people are really going to love. Everyone's got to eat, right? Go ahead, Wade.
I have a question for you, Amy or Deborah. Is there a hot sauce recipe in there?
Oh, look.
Yes. And there's a Bloody Mary mix. There's all kinds of you can make a cocktail basket. You can make,
We've got the easy homemade, and then we have the labels for you. How to make the labels for your hot sauce.
The labels, the baskets, the whole thing. I love that book so much. Are you picking that up?
Done.
I'm making so many things out of there, and they're all great. And there's a great cheat sourdough recipe in there, which is super, super easy to make and very impressive. So, okay. It's like many gifts in one. So,
Deborah, some liqueurs for your rep friends for the holidays?
Stop by the store. Come by the store, and those liqueurs came out great. The berry one is really great, and the ginger one is fantastic. And anyway, very, very exciting. I'm just gonna craft myself through the apocalypse, I decided. So
good idea.
Right?
Right.
And on that note, I want to thank everybody who joined us today with such fantastic ideas for books and gifts. Wade Lucas from Random House, Amy Comito from Penguin, Gary Hart from University of Chicago Press, Henry, as always, from the shop, Joey behind the scenes, and I especially am so glad that you three reps were here today for our last Elevenses before the holidays, because we haven't seen you guys for a long time, and so I'm thrilled that you could be here on this big gifty type Elevenses. So everybody, that's going to do it for us. We're on break, as I mentioned, until January 8th. But that doesn't mean that we're not in the store or avail online. So please drop in, say hello, do your shopping online. We'd love to see you. We will also miss you. But we'll be there doing the thing, selling the books, and hoping that you all are having a great and relaxing holiday full of books. I mean, that's the best that I can wish for everybody right now. So thanks all again, and we will see you in 2025.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Have a great
Have a good
holiday,
week.
everyone.